Hi guys, welcome to Manhood Explained. My name is Camille and welcome to live number 89. Today is 25th of March 2020. Listen, today we're going to talk um, about how to turn quirky and kind of really nerdy kind of guy to a hero. And it's going to take me 10 minutes and you do with that information whatever you want. But many of us are having issues with this. We don't really have self-confidence, especially now when times kind of changed and there's going to be much more issues with you feeling like you stand out in a positive way. So that's why I'm going to talk about it because this is very important subject to kind of see or learn how to see value in yourself. And that's going to be one of the ways to achieve this. But I want to talk about our quirks and things that you might feel that are your flaws or something that it's not really understood. And I want to show you how you can use it to kind of help yourself to see that it might bring value and it might change how you look at yourself and how you present who you are to others. So I want us to look at this concept from two perspectives. First of all, I want us to look at from what you do, and second, how you think. But let us start with very kind of, for some of you might be kind of obvious thing, but for some of you not. So I'm going to start with this. Look, whatever is in life, that's going to be like a pseudo-psychological. Whatever is in the world, it's objectively there. It has no negative or no positive value attached to it unless you give it. So whatever is in the world, like let's say knife. Knife can be used to many different things. And when I say knife, some of you will say, knife, I use that to put butter on my bread. Some of you will say, this is the thing I've been trained to kill people. And some people say, whoa, this is a crazy thing to see, but that's the truth. Knife by itself, it's just a knife. You can be used to anything. You can try to unscrew something with the knife. I tried. You can break the knife. But it could be used to anything. The same thing with hand. If I will say hand, what is the first thing comes to your head? Hand can be, you can say, oh, I think about beautiful hand of my girl. Someone will say, well, I'm 80 and I look at my hand. For me, it's like a symbol of me aging. The same guy who just talked about knife, he will say, hand is something that I used to beat someone to pulp because I'm military trained, and this is what I see by hands, like a weapon of war. And some of you maybe say, well, I was born without hands, so I have no connection to that whatsoever. So you see, whatever there is, it might have completely different meanings, and it has meaning only if you give it to it. And I'll use just one more example. You can say, but there are things like they just used to bad things, like guns. I say, well, if you've never been in war and never used the gun against someone, then, for you, even though the gun is like, it was created to kill, basically, or to kill, because that was how it was created. But then you can say you can be used for securing yourself, for protection. Or I can say, listen, the only time I had a gun in my hand and I used it physically was when I was in a shooting range. We had a great time with some of my friends. We were trained by professionals, but it was all for fun. For me, guns, at least for now, it's something that I connect to fun. Because even with guns, we spend we spend money on our company for having a integration party. So for me, it's fun. So you see, it's just a matter of adding or connecting interpretation or giving value to something. So you see, the same things happens when we think about what you do. The first of these two that I want to talk today about, our quirks. Listen, if you're the person who's this kind of nerdy guy, maybe you're, I don't know, collecting coins, or maybe you're collecting postal stamps. Some people will say, "Wow, this guy's crazy. He just spends all his day and with his stamps." But then if you look at it closely, you may see, well, listen, it gives me it gives me pleasure, so that's nothing negative. But then if I'll ask you what kind of characteristic it tells about you that you're able to deal with this thing, you start to see that probably you are someone who is really detailed, someone who is able to spend a lot of time to make this whole thing look perfect and be perfect. So if you're trained, let's say, in accountants, I'll give you, a lot of names of business people who will automatically connect with you, because if they see that you're passionate about perfection and you're accountant, you have a job in many places, right here, right now. You see? So everything that happens, everything that you do that might seem quirky, it's going to tell something about your character. And I'm going to use one thing which might be important, especially for us guys. Maybe you constantly and you cannot stop, seeing and looking at girls. Many of us are having issues with that in our relationship, because our ladies, they don't like when we just look and see those girls walking around. But ask yourself one thing: why? If, obviously not taking this sexually, because that's where you can take this whole thing. But why you react to this? And maybe if you really get kind of honest with yourself, you start to see that you're basically sensitive to women's beauty. And if I'll train you with making portrait photos, or maybe if you go towards something with fashion, or something with beauty like makeup or something, maybe you can be like really really good photographer, makeup artist, or fashion designer, just because you're sensitive to something. And in this particular case, that would be women beauty. So it is not bad if you're not doing like bad things with it. It just tells you that there's a characteristic that you stand out in a crowd with. The same thing with how you think. Have you ever seen Beautiful Mind or Rain Man? Those are very extreme examples. People who see the world in a completely different way. And by that, there are geniuses. If you use and direct this ability to see world this specific way, you're able to create something that was never there. Some become scientists, some become philosophers or thinkers or writers, and they are able to see the world in a completely different way. And a perfect example, as I told you a few lives before, that I was watching Bert Kreischer, Bert Kreischer's stand-ups, and he's talking about his daughters. He says that Georgia is his older, and younger is Isla, and he says that especially Isla, she's crazy. She's like, he says that she's smart, but not socially useful smart. And then when he talks about his stories, and I would advise you to watch Bert Kreischer, The Machine, or any of his stand-ups, because I think in all of them he talks about his daughters. When you look at what are the stories when he says about his daughter, especially Isla, you can see that this girl sees the world completely different way. She makes connection with things that are so unexpected that he's making laugh of because he's stand-up comedian. But I would bet that his daughter Isla might be someone really big, because if you put this way of completely abstract thinking in any form of creativity, any form of, I know, maybe writing books or something like this, she's gonna go wild. So this is my prediction. She might be someone really interesting to observe in the future. And I don't know if you know that there was a scientific study done with kids. They ask kids something very simple question, like how many things you can do with a paperclip. And they were asking kids age, I don't know, I was like kindergarten or just primary school, and they gave like 100 answers. And they did the same thing with the same kids like 10 years later. And even though at the beginning, the first time that they asked them, they were given like, I don't know, 100 or a lot of answers. After some time, they were giving less and less answers, even though there's the same kids, the same question. Because one of the things that I found is that the younger the kid, the more creative imagination they have. And they were able to give so many crazy answers because they said, who said that the paperclip has to be metal? Maybe it was created from foam. And they were able to give you some usage for this, which is crazy, completely outside of the normal box thinking. So this is what I want you to see, that if you're having quirk, if you're having some crazy way of seeing or doing something in life, it doesn't have to be something negative. Because if it doesn't hurt anyone, maybe it just tells something about your character. Maybe it says something about how you see the world, which is different than others. But there's one thing you have to learn how to do, is just to see how you can use this to help others. And right there, in that moment in time, it turns from being a curse to being a blessing. Because it turns from you being quirky and misunderstood to someone who is able to explain or help people with problems that no one else were able to help. So it's just this one thing, being able to see how the way you see the world, or how you experience the world, or how you live, which was misunderstood, how to use it to help someone else. And then, you being a guy who never was popular in your group because you had your own world that you were living in, then you can become someone who is extremely needed, extremely respected, because of your unique way of looking at the world. So this is your uniqueness. So this is what I kind of want you to understand, that especially we guys, we're having issues with having our own identity. So I want you to look at this and ask yourself a question. What does it say about me? What characteristic that it puts on me? And then try to figure out, how can I help this to someone else? And you're going to change the way you look at yourself. And the more you become kind of courageous or bold to help someone else with your ability, the more you'll be able to see that you're useful, and people will start to recognize you. Because this is what I want you to take from this video. No matter how quirky you are, no matter how your life looks like a failure, it's just a matter of the meaning that you give to it. Because if you find a way to use your quirkiness and craziness and being misunderstood, if you find a way to use it to help others, you'll become a hero like this, just because you were able to use who you are for someone else's benefit. So think about it and do something about it, because it might change your life and life those who are around you. Listen, if you like this video, comment under it, or DM me. If you didn't like it or disagree with me, do the same thing. I'm really open to kind of have this conversation, because I love to learn. Because if you see things from different perspectives, it changes how you understand things. And if there's anything I can record video about, or maybe help you with something, especially in this subject of manhood and understanding manhood or relationships, I'll be glad to do this. Contact me, and I'm going to record it for you. So that being said, see you tomorrow.